Can we just talk about how cool that video is? Have
Just
you ever played Sprint, that video game, arcade
I
game?
I did not watch Sprint. No, I did not play Sprint. That is, I was
Oh,
too young, too
yeah,
young
you
for
must be
that.
too young. That game,
Yeah.
I used to spend so many quarters on that game. And those of you wondering what the hell I'm talking about, there's this arcade game that's called Sprint that's driving. That video is totally like I guess designed to look like it. And I mean, even the track is exactly the same as the very first track. And it was like one of those games where you have four steering wheels, like all standing steering wheels, all next to each other. And I think it was one of the first games where you could get nitro boosts, and there's like
Oh man,
shortcuts on the things. Yeah, yeah, dude, it was fun. Look that up if you ever guys go to any kind of vintage arcades. But I always get a laugh out of that. But yeah, anyways, check out valuetown.ting.com if you want to find out some more about Ting and what they do, and if it ends up cutting your phone bill in half. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about events. So we obviously have the global games going on right now. In fact, we had a hard time getting a guest because like literally everybody is playing today. U.S., U.K., Netherlands, like literally everybody is playing right now. So it was hard to get folks. It's great, this event having all of our favorite players and personality, some personalities too playing is I think is wonderful. Have you gotten a chance to watch any of the global games recently?
I've watched the one that we had, Bulgaria versus Brazil, I believe. I watched the entire
Oh
series.
yeah,
Actually,
okay.
I've been quite enjoying
Mhm.
the speed of the matches. I don't know what it is about the format, but I feel like strategies gets executed very quickly. It doesn't drag on forever. Like no longer resident sleeper matches with warrior versus warrior armor games until fatigue. And for
Yeah,
all the hatred I have for the removal of those mechanics, for tournament watchability, it definitely does a lot, right? Like
yeah,
we can't deny that fatigue games in tournaments were some of the most grueling. And the thing is, when you're watching a tournament, you're watching a marathon of games. And I think Global Games is one of the first few tournaments that I can sit and watch the entire thing in a reasonable time frame. Like there's not going to be that ridiculously long matchup. And I've been liking quite a bit of that, honestly. I like the
yeah.
the bantering between the casters. I've just been liking the entire thing so far.
Yeah, the casters have done great. I think overall, I agree with you. I think the speed of the matches have been, something that you can kind of watch in the background just all day, and you
Yeah.
kind of like catch it, and definitely really, you can get a sense for what the meta is right now, and what the top players are playing, and how they're interacting with each other. I'd say the only criticism that I have for the event is that it doesn't seem any more special than any other event, and like I feel like what they kind of accomplish with the team. I mean, we can't actually hear the team speaking, and like talking to each other. So it just
They speak in
looks,
different languages, right? Which is the
yeah.
problem. Is like, Bulgaria speaking on the mic wouldn't be something. Like, I mean,
What are
you
you
could
talking about,
broadcast it,
dude?
but
It'd be amazing. Had to get
but it would.
subtitles and everything on there.
And I mean, that would be great if they just had like live subs going on and everything. But the issue I've got is when I watch the HGG, I feel like there's a huge skill gap between countries.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
some countries are clearly not, like their team is clearly not on the level of that of other countries, and I'm not sure if it's like I have
It's
to wonder, like,
okay if
are
that's the
these
case. Yeah, it's fine.
it's fine, but that's my question is like, are these the best people in those countries? Or are they the people who got voted up the most? Or are they the only players in that country? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I know that they mostly have other players than what's shown on the roster, but they're,
The
the
captains
discrepancy
are.
in
The captains are the
knowledge.
best, right? Because they're measured by HCT points.
Well, yeah, well, sure. We'll use
Yeah.
that measure for the most part. That's
Mhm.
true. It's not completely, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect system.
Not perfect.
It
Yeah.
is not a perfect system when you have a carryover from last year.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been really good to see, just generally speaking, people experimenting and coming at the metagame with different angles. Funny enough, Quest Rogue is everywhere in the tournament, and
Yeah,
it's
it is. Every time I
and if
look,
you
it's
watch it
played.
being played,
Yeah.
it's actually not just a straightforward all-in play that
No,
we
it's
see on
not.
ladder. People are not playing dirty rat on turn 2 in Control Warrior. Like these
Mhm.
decks are actually played by people who have come up with the list,
We didn't.
and you can tell there's a huge difference.
We didn't even talk about Dirt. Can we? can we talk about how good Dirty Rat has been in given situations? I mean, it's been amazing. We actually have a question from a viewer that we'll bring up a little bit later pertaining to Dirty Rat, but I've seen so many epic Dirty Rat plays in competition recently since Ungoro came out. It's really, really great because there was that question whether it would be played versus the other 2-6. And I think right now everybody's been playing Dirty Rat.
Yeah, Dirty Rat is just about everywhere, right? Like it denies quest rogues, bouncing shenanigans. It messes up freeze mage sometimes.
Bad.
When not there. You've got to
badly.
Like if you get an archaeologist early, sometimes there's just crap out of luck for the second ice block, and that wins games in and of itself. So that's been quite nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been liking that.
Yeah, so overall, I think the global games, it's been good. I don't think there's been any hitches lately. I think it's been pretty much on schedule. It's going on for the next 6-7 weeks, and of course, it happens during the time of the show, so that's not very great for us. But that's just kind of how it is. Hopefully, we'll see. I forget when the group rounds actually end. I think once the group rounds end, and then we start seeing, some of the playoffs. Yeah, I know. So,
and then we've got a reset of that too, right?
Yeah, I think there's another group of after that, right? So, it's going to be a while. It's pretty long. I have to say, it's very, very long. But for all the players involved, it's definitely great. Okay, well, another event that happened was the Team Brawl, the Redbull Team Brawl that we've seen in the past, where it's sealed. It's a sealed format. They have teams of 3 compete against each other. I think they have 4 teams of 3, and the way they do it is that they have, I forget how many packs that you get to open using the Tempo Storm sealed tool or sealed deck tool that you can set up, customize yourself, and you build 3 decks, and then they basically play a series, just a conquest series, right? With the 3 decks, and I think we had Tempo Storm, Luminosity. Toast had his own team, and then we had an arena team that was like Hafu and Merps and Edwakta. So that's the first time we actually had an arena-only team. So I felt like that was interesting. But they kept emphasizing that the arena players would have more of an advantage than the normal standard players. But I didn't think that was the case. I was like, this is more like standard than this is
They
arena.
got RNG'd hard. Like I watched them go off, dude. Like they just got the worst end of the RNG. Whatever games I watched him, was just like, damn, like these arena guys just got screwed on every flip that could have possibly happened. I don't know how much it had to do, with the end result, but it because of the amount of packs you open, sure, it's like arena, but it's also more like constructed because you do have a say in synergy. Yeah. Which arena doesn't draft around very much, right? Like it's not to say you don't, but the more cards you unlock, the more likely it is that your constructed skill becomes important. And there's a reason why in Magic, playing draft, playing sealed, and playing constructed are 3 different skill sets. And sure, we call limited the combination of, drafting and sealed, but you open so many more cards on sealed than draft that it's a very different universe you live in. And, you don't use the same skill set. Arena is very limited. You don't have if Arena gave you an overhead of 15 cards, if it said you draft 45 and then you get to pick 30 to make a deck, I'd say sure, that gives you an advantage in sealed, because that's effectively being able to trim out the stuff you don't want and narrow down to one strategy you're looking for. But on the way that Arena works, based on the way Arena works in Hearthstone, I feel like the constructed advantage is just as good as the Arena advantage. At the end of the day, so
I actually think the constructed one is, they just had an advantage over the arena folks for all the things that you said. When you're looking at 120 cards and you get to build 3 decks or something like that, that is way different than having to draft one at a time sequentially. Not knowing what you're going to be drafting in the future. So it was an interesting element. We definitely did see just the playing skills of the arena players coming out, and that was probably one of the more interesting aspects of it, them talking about plays. You could just feel the arena type of frame of mind playing into what is more of a standard type of format. So that was actually great to see, and it just shows you those guys, they could just play standard. They just had to practice different decks. We've seen Hafu get to legend I don't know how many seasons in a row just by doing that. So that's nothing new that we didn't know, but it's definitely cool getting a chance to see them though. I think overall with the well, for those of you that didn't get a chance to see it, spoilers, Toast's team that consists of him, Kibler and Sidonia. Like, I don't even know how these people are like matched up. Kibler and Toast, okay, I get that. Then Sidonia come from somewhere. It's just like, okay,
TSM boy, get somebody, get a good player on. Why not?
Yeah,
he's just a good
that's
player.
pretty much.
He's not had much public exposure, but he's a solid guy.
No, he's been on the show, like obviously a couple times, even semi-recently. So it was kind of a cool mix. They ended up winning. So, chalk one up for Toast again. He's just like winning everything. These day streamer showdown and Team Brawl and all that good stuff. But the event, somebody's saying in the chat that they didn't promote it very well. Yeah, I think they didn't. Yeah, they probably just didn't promote it that much too. I think there were a lot of people that didn't see it. They still got a very good number of viewers. So, overall the event was produced really well. I mean, it felt like Trinity, like maybe the finals of Trinity, where you had the three people sitting there and talking, and going into the team chats from time to time, and some classic moments too when they went in the team chat. And even with the casters, right? They were in like a movie theater, so it had that kind of feel for that sort of a casual approach. I think that was cool. I wish this would have been a pre-recorded event, so that they would have been able to highlight the drafting, because the drafting was done on the individual streams. So I completely missed the drafting. And I felt like that was a huge part of what makes this format unique. And then, the whole math moment, right, that we had in the previous ones, right, the epic ones where they're looking over each other's shoulders and playing at the same time. I kind of like that too. Like that part of the event I think was missing from the past. They opted to go with a more refined type of production, which I don't blame them. I mean, I understand why they did it, but the kind of character that I loved about the first one and the second one too, but mostly the first one, I felt like wasn't in this one. And
that's largely because of, the drafting not being as obvious. Because one of the things about draft, like, I have this thing where if I play Magic the Gathering, for instance, for drafting purposes, or even Arena and Hearthstone, sometimes I just draft the deck, and then I see the play button, and I'm like, I don't actually want to play this deck. I just want to draft more. Right. I don't know how many people have that problem, but like, I just want to see cards come up and have to make.
I do it in Hearthstone. I do it on the tool, right, in Hearthstone.
Well, there you go, man. So I do that so much that at some point when I see that the draft is not like the huge portion of the stream, I think it takes away some of the soul of the event. That being said, Sealed is still by far my favorite format in Hearthstone as of right now.
Great.
The fact that they're combining teams and Sealed is really nice. Again, expanding the types of formats we have in Hearthstone is really important. And we had one of the developers recently speak on that topic. What does Blizzard plan to do to support team leagues and whatnot? What do they plan to do with formats? And one of the points they made that was interesting was the community is largely responsible for how esports is being shaped up in Hearthstone. Even as early as the beta phase of Hearthstone, we had nothing to do with esports. The community kind of took esports and ran with it. And so Blizzard played, up until this point, a huge catch-up game, right? They've been catching up to what people wanted, but they're finally, coming to the point where they have infrastructure, they have people in place, and we might see stuff like formalized league teams, formalized team leagues that is being added to the game, and competitive scene, and stuff like Sealed might at some point be discussed. And if that were the case, then what an achievement that would be for the whole Tempo Storm's efforts on that front. I would be very happy if Blizzard supported that format.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And those of you wondering what we're talking about with Sealed and the Tempo Storm, Codephobia has been, and just a group of developers have been working on the Sealed tool for a long time. And their first iteration was the one that was you build 3 decks. I forget exactly what the number of packs it was, but it was very rigid. Like, you could only play that format because it was literally built for the first Redbull Team Brawl. Right,
Team Brawl.
Now, one of the things that he had me do is just take a look at it before the actual event. They've released it and they've added the customization aspect of it. So now you can pick how many decks you want to build, how many packs you want from this expansion, this expansion, this expansion. You can customize it as as how you like, and then you can actually go through the sealed where it just opens packs for you. So the tool is actually pretty sophisticated, and it's great. I think there should be more tools that people need to build, and I was actually in the process of doing some. I just been so busy with some of the other stuff I've been doing recently, but I wanted to do some more of those showdowns, the Valuetown showdowns. And there's actually, there was a tool that I was working with somebody to build that had different types of formats, very similar, similar to Sealed, how that is, like how you build decks. Like there's different ways to build decks that are super fun, that folks can build, and we can actually do even more of these type of events like Team Brawl. So the potential is there. It's like the tip of the iceberg. Like that, I wish there were more event organizers that would do different things with these events instead of just the same competitive type events. Because where you need to focus, guys, and I'll just throw it out there, is how the decks are built. That is where the fun aspect of Hearthstone event organizing comes from. It's not in the playing. The playing aspect of Hearthstone is something we've seen a million times already. It's almost like something you just kind of have to do. It's just a necessity. But the part that's unique and where you can change is how the decks are built. And Sealed does that. Sealed is a one option. There are many other options. Like I can think of 5 off the top of my head right now that would be super fun to do. And we just need more organizers, I think, to do some of those things.
And again, a lot of organizers, despite that goodwill, they run into hiccups with Hearthstone production because they don't realize how heavy it is. Like they don't realize how much effort you need to pull off a Hearthstone stream that looks good. It's extremely difficult to get even just the scenes properly arranged. So I understand where you're coming from, but I think some of them have wanted to do that and have simply run into logistics issues where they just don't have people who have the know-how. Because here's one of the things that I realized from working as a caster. Sometimes you get to see behind the scenes a little bit, and not every production team is created equal, and not all of them have a similar and as accurate understanding of what a Hearthstone stream should look like and contain. And it means that Hearthstone, despite looking easy to get into, because it looks easy, it's just this childish card game with cartoons. Haha, how hard can it be to produce? LOL. They have a spectator mode. That's got to be easy. No, that spectator mode is incomplete, and you have to do more to make it look good. And like capturing deck building requires so many more bits of input. That at the end of the day, most organizers don't even have the people to do that. They don't even have someone they can ask, hey, do you know how to do this? And can you pull it off? They don't even have that. So they end up having to outsource, and that costs a ton, and then suddenly problems arise. No
question that this type of thing should be edited. Like it should be pre-recorded and edited for optimal, just for it to be shown in an optimal way. But when it comes to producing like these streams, they're proven concepts already. This isn't like back when I was doing Deck Wars, dude. This is we're discovering for the first time. This is not that anymore. Everybody's come up, like everybody knows how to produce just regular competitive events very efficiently with, dynamic overlays, everything like that, right? There are people that make those things at this point. So, when you're adding new elements, sure, that's something to learn and try to figure out. But having the ability to edit, it gives you so much freedom, to you choose what to do, kind of direct, right? Figure out what you want to show. And I think there's a lot of potential there. I don't feel like we've done enough of that type of content yet. And, obviously I'm trying to do it with Streamer Showdown, but I'm talking about even just more competitive stuff.
Actual Hearthstone.
Yeah. Actual Hearthstone types of formats that we haven't even touched it. So I don't know, just throwing that out there. I think Team Brawl, again, I think it was a huge success. I think, it was super entertaining and got a lot of viewership. So hopefully they'll keep doing it, keep doing a good job with it. Okay, well, we got some questions here that kind of going into the Q&A portion of the show. And, of course, we got one from Ahmed N, as always. He says, I know this might sound nuts, but as a free-to-play player, there are aspects that paying players don't experience, like what cards to craft and how to manage with limited resources. Creating budget zoo is to target pirate and quest rogue is what I play right now. Not exploring the quests might be a lot down, but a lot worse. But I don't care as I read the meta and win. Okay, so
wow, this guy knows what's up.
Yeah. So I guess his point is, whenever you have the ability to net deck, you might not understand, I guess, the same type of. You might not understand the scope of the cards that are actually available and how they can, solve a problem in the most simplest way, I guess is how you look at it. So, when you're looking at Pirate Warrior, okay, what is, given my resources, what is the most, very, very, witty way or very smart way of dealing with super aggro and not having, just all of these amazing taunts that you can get that are, epic or legendary. So yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think he has a point there?
I think a lot of people, and I think this is especially true in Goro, right? Like more so than anywhere else, where net decking with the amount of decks that exist is extremely costly. Yeah, there's so many decks. Like you can't just decide, oh, I want to play this deck today, that deck tomorrow if you don't have all the cards. And he's got a point. The point being that tailoring your own deck building to what you like and what you're facing is probably more accurate. But at the end of the day, there's a reason net decking exists and why it's so common. And that is not because people are idiots. It's because the decks that are typically rank 1 legend tend to be pretty good, and crafting the cards within it is likely to give you a high win rate, regardless of how you feel. Sometimes, even though you have a bad matchup against Pirate Warrior, the right answer is not to play Golakka Crawler. The right answer is to simply lose to Pirate Warrior and keep moving on and face other matchups. And the idea of teching and crafting to tech is, I think, somewhat erroneous unless you're specifically building to target that. And that's more true in tournaments than ladder. So reading the meta on ladder right now, like, I don't know how anybody does that. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate the thought, and maybe that's true at lower ranks, but where I'm standing at rank 3, which is like the mid ranks, there's a meta-ish, but not really. Like, I won't start putting Hungry Crab in my Hunter because Murloc Paladin. Not yet, at least. And I like the concept, but I'm not sure.
Well, it's a very balanced meta right now. It's kind of what you're getting at least in this rank 3 area. And that's when it can be hard. There's always a meta, though. Whether it's just like 1% difference or there's a 10% difference, there's always a meta. And things like, what just the meta reports that we see, and just the analytics tools that we have out there can help with that. But to his point, though, reading the meta and countering the meta is the most efficient way to climb. And sometimes it doesn't take the best cards to actually counter the meta. It could be a difference.
I'll give a good example of what I think is a proper tech and what is not a proper tech. I think Stampede and Kodo is a fantastic tech. Freeze Mages in the meta, that kills Doomsayers when they come out on your board and try to wipe you out, which is why I think Kodo should be in the Murloc list. Stampede and Kodo is great because it kills taunts in Taunt Warrior. It kills small minions in aggro decks. It kills mid-range minions and totems and Shaman. It'll kill stuff like Radiant Elemental and Priest. It finds stuff to kill across the board.
Yeah.
But something as specific as Golakka Crawler, like the craft, we're talking 100 dust. It's a rare. You're putting 100 dust towards a tech card. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, especially in a non-hunter deck. But I understand the reasoning, but I just don't know if
it's not necessarily.
I can compare both.
It might not be like Golakka Crawler so much, but it could be something like playing up that 1/2 poisonous minion, versus what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you play something that actually deal. You can't afford a Black Knight or something, so you play poisonous minions. You're solving problems with the cards at hand. There just might not be the most efficient cards, but they still solve it enough that you can have success. And to his point, you do understand the game as a whole more when you do. I think when you do play as a free-to-play player.
I'd agree with that. I think the fastest way to not get anything is just buy all the cards, net deck, and play.
That's right.
I've seen so many people just play a deck to horrible results, despite the fact that you remember those people we used to call the wallet warriors with just control warriors, and they just butchered acolyte plays and drew themselves to fatigue. Yeah, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Just don't.
All right, Spooky. Next up, what are your opinions on Dirty Rat? This is kind of what I mentioned before. It can take out a Sorcerer's Apprentice or Antonidas from Exodia Mage, and the Mage can't do anything to win the game. It can pretty much win the games against combo decks and seems disruptive, like discarding cards from your opponent, which they said they won't make. It's also RNG. So I think he's talking about in terms of it being a negative thing. Do you think that Dirty Rat is a negative thing?
I think Dirty Rat is... So I like Disruption as much as the next guy, but I absolutely loathe the RNG of Dirty Rat. I hate that sometimes the correct play is not to play Dirty Rat, and they play and they don't get punished when I have a punish in my hand. Like, I have 5 big minions and 1 small one, and they just pull out the small one. I hate the Dirty Rat when it's used offensively as either bringing out an Acidic Swamp, Ooze, or Reno Jackson. Like the discrepancy in effect at the end of the game is massive. Or Kazakis, hey, good job, you did it. Or it brings out Doomsayer, which completely ruins the guy's Dirty Rat. Or shuts down a combo for removal you plan to do later. Anyway, point is, I like the effect of, hey, we're disrupting you. I don't mind that. It doesn't quite work like a discard, though. And there is some skill to using it. And for that reason, I don't mind it as much. It's not aggravating to me the way that, say, a Warlock self-discarding with, Soulfire and nailing every possible discard outlet fares. I don't mind that. We need combo hatred that isn't Loatheb. That's how I feel. And I think Dirty Rat kind of does that.
Yeah. I still like Dirty Rat. I don't have that much problems with the RNG aspect of it, just because, it's generally... I mean, it's risky for them to do it, but it's not risky in a way where, I guess, how do I put it? Yeah, you can get like an Ooze sometimes, or you can, have a rag come out or something huge come out like that. But, they know that going into that play, and it's not usually like game losing at that moment either. It's just really bad for you, generally, if he gets the right value card out from you. But, it doesn't have that crazy impact that some of these other RNG cards have had in the past.
In Wild, for instance, right? Like the Control Warrior build, some people are still running the whole Shield Maiden shenanigans with, just play Elise, Golden Monkey.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where Dirty Rat and the old Elise, or even the new Elise, like we're in a value matchup. Let's assume it came down to that, and you pull my Elise, and I can't get a pack in my deck.
Yeah.
Like in a value matchup, this might be ball breaking. Like it's just one of those things where I hate that my result is not guaranteed to be as good as yours, and so we're playing to see who gets the best Dirty Rat. It's like the old Control Warrior mirrors where who draws their acolytes first and has a full hand has to jam them on the board and loses. Who has to dump their hand? Who gets the best Golden Monkey? Right. Dirty Rat can feel that way, but when the metagame is very diverse, it oftentimes doesn't come to that. Like mirror matches are less frequent, so Dirty Rat becomes a tech against specific things like, hey, Quest Rogue, you bounce back that novice to your hand because you thought, hey, I'll play it next turn. Nope, you're not. And suddenly they're shut down. And in that way, I kind of like. So
Dirty Rat's one of those cards that it brings up another point, which we can, I think, maybe piggyback off of this. But Dirty Rat's a kind of card where I wish we could only play one. But it shouldn't be a legendary though, and we run into that type of. I think we run into those type of cards. We're starting to see it, like Dinomancy, for instance. That card, they didn't want to make a legend, but there's no reason why there's even the ability to have 2 of them.
Well, I think most people who play 2, and they do better with 2.
Just for a higher chance of getting it.
Yeah, it's the consistency of it. Plus, sometimes you also get to refresh. I mean, it sounds stupid, but you can go kind of like Shadow Form, like Hero Power. Shadow Form,
yeah, that's true. I guess you can do it twice.
You can double buff.
Yeah.
It's not amazing. I'll grant you that much. And I wish, by the way, that Dinomancy, when you played the second one, gave you a Shadow Form-ish effect where it became +3.
Yeah.
I would have personally loved that, but I think they were erring on the side of caution with it, as opposed to.
It'd be balanced. I think it'd be fine. Actually,
I think it would be fine personally, but. They're afraid of. So here's the deal, right? Shadow Form costs you 3 and pings for 2, and then pings for 3. This keeps a 3/3 on the board forever, or that +2/+2 forever. Like it's never going away, and the permanence of it is the reason why Blizzard, I think, is very wary of letting it stick.
Yeah. but in general though, they always have that limitation. It's like they have to determine like, okay, is this card a kind of card we want them to be able to play 2 of? And then at the same time, it's like, okay, do we want to actually make it legendary from the rarity standpoint? Because that's the only way we can not make it 2 of. So they have that limitation that's artificial in a way. Like they don't have to do that if they didn't want to. I don't know how, the best way to implement that, just to have it be very accessible and people understand it. But it is a parameter that they work under in design. It limits them too. I think it hurts.
Has to.
Yeah. So, there are some legendaries that probably shouldn't be legendaries, but they wanted to do them just because there's only one of them. So, it throws things off, sometimes whenever you do that. But anyway, generally, I think, I don't have a problem with Dirty Rat, and I would like it if it was maybe just 1, but 2, there's not that many scenarios where it's terrible, for me at least. Let's see. Okay, Greek Geek 87. So he's from. We're taking your question from chat, buddy. Given that you've asked it a lot of times, what do you think about Blizzard creating new archetypes each expansion instead of building upon previous ones, instead of just abandoning each archetype after each expansion? So examples of that, guys, would be Jade. Another example would be, what's another one? Even just the Grimy Goons hand buffing.
Duplicates, Reno stuff, like that's another archetype.
Reno.
Or even Pirates. Pirates got nothing new. Like we're talking about, abandoned archetypes.
Inspire.
Max.
Yeah,
Max, Inspire. And that's a really good question because I've been thinking a lot about this. And they say, we've talked about this, I feel, on the show before, Year of the Mammoth, Year of the Kraken. Okay, cool. We got a giant mastodon, and we got the whatever Kraken is named.
A ton of beasts. Come on, we got a ton of beasts.
No. Listen, what my point is, what is the mammoth?
Oh,
what does it have anything to do with? And like, I wish every expansion during the Year of the Mammoth had a big ass legendary mammoth. That did something. Like Old God style. Like if it was called Year of the Old Gods, you would have 1 Old God per set. I'm exaggerating a bit because that's very specific, but I think it would be nice to have a unifying theme running throughout the entire theme of the year, as opposed to, kind of a fire and forget, pick an animal, go. I really would like that to be the case. And one of the cool things is it allows them to pace the release of certain cards for certain archetypes, right? Like they already do that where they say, oh, let's release Taunt Warrior stuff in whatever the expansion was, Karazhan, and the one before that with Bolster. All right, guys, now let's, like, sparring partner, let's release something for Taunt Warrior. You know what? This isn't working. Let's brute force it. Quest. And now next time it might be another archetype they've been kind of implementing stuff for, and now they could go, all right, guys, we're pushing that one now, and have it be themed around an entire block of sets like Magic does it, as opposed to, put that mechanic in one expansion and forget about it. That's one of the things I would
I agree too. And I feel like they're going to try to get to that. It was, the planning of this, and I think decisions made with even standard and resets and things like that were probably made in parallel, not necessarily in tandem with just some of the design, right? Because these designs, they said it, right, 8 months in advance or something like that. Sometimes these decisions for what to do with releases are made separately. So I think now that they kind of have these things in just in play, and now they have 8 months since the last time we've done, they've definitely had plenty of time since the first time they've done it. I think they can probably group these a little bit better. So I guess Year of the Mammoth, to your point, we've had a lot of beasts, at least, right? And hopefully the beasts continue.
Sure.
But they've added so many beasts that it's just are you seriously going to add more beasts in the next few expansions?
It's not the beasts I want.
Holy crap.
It's not even the beasts I want. It's just one unifying...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
If they make it Year of the Fish, I want to see Nat Bagel, the Dark Fisher. I want to see Nat Bagel, the Light Fisher. And I want to see Nat Bagel, the Neutral Fisher. I don't care what these guys are, but I want to see something that has to do with the theme of the...
You know what's funny is the Year of the Mammoth. The only mammoth I think we have right now. Well, actually, except for
the giant mastodon.
The mastodon.
And it's not even a mammoth.
Yeah, we have a behemoth too, but he's Jade.
Oh God, run away.
Yeah, but I see your point. I definitely see your point. But overall, I think that as long as they cluster whatever they do into the 3 releases per year, then the resets won't be. The resets will just, I guess, remove these things so that you don't have any half-made type of archetypes still existing. An example would be like Dragon, for instance. Like Dragon is like half-baked right now, and sure, they can go and sub some more, but you're always going to be off. You're going to be offset by half a set like every single time right now, right? So, next release, you're gonna lose Operative and Historian and all, just all the cards that actually are still pretty good. So they have to eventually fix that, or at least align a lot of those together. But overall, yeah, I wish they would. At least for the given year, for the 3 expansions, they need to continue themes on, and then, have the reset, just have all those themes go away, and then they come in with a new set. But expansion with their individual themes, I think that's where they can fall into the trap. Because, what if the next one is, I don't know, like a mech one, like a GVG type of theme or something like that? Then all of a sudden they're going to come out with all these new mechs. Like, it'd be kind of weird.
A mechanical
right?
mammoth. I demand.
A mechanical mammoth.
I demand a mechanical
Is it a beast
mammoth.
or is it a mech? Can we have 2 tribes now?
Yeah, go, dude. Make it a beast mech. I'm down
Beast
for that.
mech.
The point, and I'm sure at some point we'll have double tribes. There's got to be a point where something's going to be like both a beast and a pirate or something. It's going to be called Scratches, and it's going to be a cat, or whatever. But Scratches the cat. Please don't make it come out of the cannon. Don't.
Yeah.
But,
I guess
sure we're going to get that.
I guess another way to put it is design, or like from a thematic, art wise and thematic standpoint, when you're creating each year, like look at it from the standpoint of each year and then lay those out. You don't have to design the cards, just design the themes like beforehand for each year, and then thematically hopefully they'll have some synergy, and then they'll feel like sets each year versus what we have right now, which is sets every expansion, which hasn't worked so far. Yeah. I hope they don't make any more Jade cards. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. They said they weren't going to do anything else with the Ajazan, but I wouldn't mind if they did some more Kazakus or just Cabal type of things. That would be okay with me. I'd be completely fine with that.
I don't mind the no duplicates. The thing is, like, there's so few cards in a set that they have to be cautious of not taking too many slots for that. Which is why, again, I will propose that they add cards in between sets as punctual thematic releases.
Okay.
I think that could be another way to, weave in. Do you want to put Mammoths in your Ungoro? I get it. That's fine. You don't want to put it into your, mean evil streets of Getsan #2 #episode 2 of the next expansion we're getting. I don't mind it. That's fine. You don't have to. But I would at the very least like, every 2 weeks a new card that has to do with the year of the mammoth in some way.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
I think that'd be fair. It could almost even be Volcanosaur-like. Just give it to us.
Yeah, sure.
In some way. And it doesn't even have to be super good. It just has to be marginally good.
A thematic card. I don't care if it's garbage, as long as it's at least funny. It's like those promo Gelbin type cards. That's what I want. I want more promo Gelbin type cards that people play for memes or fun, or just have it for free because they were there. That it's all right. That's fine by me.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it, guys. That's I think we're out of topics, and it's been an hour and a half. So Noxious, great show. Got any shout outs you want to do?
Well, big shout out to Complexity as usual. Big shout out to you for the Streamer Showdown put together with Colin. You ended up working out.
Thanks for hosting
really
it, of
good.
course.
I feel like this week was really good for just in general the whole ChanMan endeavors. It's been a good week.
Yeah, I still got 2 more shows tomorrow. So
you're not done, man.
It's a busy week, of course. And you're gonna be streaming rest of the week, right?
Not after this, but at some point tomorrow, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not casting Starladder, so I'll be indeed streaming.
Awesome. Sounds good. And thank you, of course, for doing the show today, as well as hosting this yesterday. It was amazing at just all the plugs and just able to, I don't know, keep it entertaining with all the players too. It's definitely an art. It's definitely a skill that not everybody has. So definitely a fantastic job on that, buddy. And I want to thank all the patrons, of course, that support the show at patreon.com/VallyTown. And again, also Ting for sponsoring this episode. And for those of you that are looking for a cell phone provider that might fit your needs in terms of how you use data and how you use text messaging, especially if you're somebody who's always around Wi-Fi. Ting is like the best solution for you because, of course, you're not using data during that time, and you're probably overpaying by a lot for data, and Ting is like perfect for that. So go check out valuetown.ting.com, and they have like a little tool that checks to see if your phone is compatible with them. They use the T-Mobile and Sprint networks, but they also include like a lot of the phones from all the other providers too. So go ahead and check that out and see if you can. And there's also a promo that's for $25, and for the average Ting phone bill, it's actually $23. So you're basically getting like a free month whenever you do sign up. They've got great customer support, award-winning. You're going to be talking to somebody when you call if you ever have a problem. So you can't really say that for a lot of the other cell phone providers out there. Anyways, check them out. They're supporting this show, and it looks like they're going to be trying to support some more stuff in Hearthstone too. So
that's fantastic.
Just give them just some support if you can. But that's going to be it, guys, for ValueTown this week. So for Noxious and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Oh, follow the Twitter channel, ValueTown GG.